My Porsche has a potentially catastrophic issue. In the comments of one of my most recent videos about the 996, a lot of you pointed out something major that I simply overlooked. My car does not have enough oil pressure. An engine's oiling system is responsible for creating a protective layer of oil between metal components so that instead of your rods coming into contact with your crankshaft, there's a thin film of oil that they ride on instead. If this pressure is too low, it can cause a lack of protection and things can go wrong very quickly. A healthy 911 should sit at just below 1 bar of oil pressure at idle, and mine is reading much closer to a half bar. If I ruin this engine, it's the end of this car for me. A used engine for one of these costs about $15,000, which is the price I paid for my entire vehicle. So it's vital that I fix this problem sooner rather than later. Anyway, I think I'll start by modifying my car with some more exhaust work. I'm partially kidding, this is only because I hadn't seen those comments yet at the time of recording, but I'll make this quick. In the last episode, I had a GT3 muffler installed on this car and it sounded absolutely incredible. The only issue is it was way too loud, so I bought a second GT3 muffler, except this one came off a car that had a valved exhaust system from the factory. This means that now I can use the quieter, more restrictive exhaust port off the valved muffler to quiet this car down while still keeping the same beautiful tone that I got out of the original GT3 muffler. I brought the car over to tango speed and he welded up a set of pipes that connect the header into the quieter ports on the GT3 muffler. These welds also look significantly better than the first version of this exhaust, and well, it sounds incredible. At this point, I also installed a set of titanium tips from Silver Lake Projects because I didn't think the OEM ones looked quite right. I also replaced my OEM deck lid with a wingless deck lid because I just didn't feel that the tiny wing looked quite right. I think this either needs no wing or a massive taco wing and nothing in between. We're swapping the deck lid with this little wing to one that has no wing. I think it'll just look better with a completely smooth body line down the back. There we go.
Oh, nice. That's a microfiber, guys, by the way.
Yeah.
100%.
Swirl marks, here I come. Anyways, at this point, I stopped driving my car because I came to realize that the oil pressure issue needed to be addressed before I blew up my engine. This 911 does not have enough oil pressure at idle. It sits at about a half bar when it should be like 1 bar of oil pressure at idle. Thankfully, my friends at FCP Euro are hooking it up for this episode, and they're helping me take care of the critical issues with this oiling system. This is an oil pump drive from LN Engineering. This is an upgraded part because the originals have a known failure where they break in half. My main oil pressure issue, I think, is caused by this oil pressure relief valve, and these springs tend to go bad over time. They lose their strength and they bleed off too much oil pressure. And so today we're going to open up the oiling system, inspect the oil pump, do a ton of maintenance to this car, and of course, do some upgrades along the way as well. Started with doing something simple, which is always fun. This strut desperately needed to be replaced, and now this doesn't fall back down anymore. But I'm gonna start this service off with Liqui Moly engine flush, mainly because I have kind of a lifter tick on cold start, which is supposedly quite typical on these, but I wanna see if this will kind of help clean out the lifters maybe. Maybe that's not how it works, but either way, this is a great little service you can do to clean out carbon deposits, clean the inside of your engine before you do an oil change. So you put this in and then just let the car idle for 15 minutes and then you drain the oil. You do not drive with this stuff in the engine. First step of the day is probably removing this beautiful GT3 muffler. These are some really beautiful welds, and these are the titanium tips from Silver Lake Project. I think these really fix the look of the car. The original tips just weren't right, but this is such a nice looking muffler. Building stuff like that is definitely what I want to get into in the future. But for now, let's get back to this. And now we have, actually not quite yet, but almost better access to our oil pump. Now we've got much better access to the oil pump, which sits right here. We're gonna take this all apart, remove the spring. We're gonna upgrade the oil pump drive and see if there's any damage in here, which could be causing low oil pressure at idle. I'm quite confident it's the spring, but it's always nice to inspect and upgrade things while we're in there. Now I've made one major rookie mistake, which is I put my jack in a spot where I can no longer access that bolt. So I'm gonna see if I can drain this out without covering my jack here completely in oil. Let's see how this goes. Don't ruin my jack. Okay, I'd say that was extremely well, unless this thing falls off my jack. Oil has a nice color to it, no sparkles, which is always nice, especially with a 996. One thing I did do was cut open the oil filter just to check for any debris, and thankfully it all looks super clean. There's no metal in there, which is always a good sign, especially on the 996. The biggest failure point in this car is the cylinder walls. They essentially wear down, and if that happens, you will see metal in your oil, and you'll also see a lot of oil consumption. And this car has neither of those, so fingers crossed, it's on the road for many more miles. Now that that's draining, we can come over here and remove this spring. Here's the spring. Oh, there comes that plunger. Wow. These are the gears that drive the oil. And this right here is the shaft that brakes. This is the entire oil pump assembly. You can see that it works by spinning these gears, which creates oil pressure. This is the oil pump drive right here, which is the critical weak point in these systems. As you can tell, this one's already starting to get chewed up. You could see worn through metal there, which is shinier than the rest. This is the upgraded one from LN Engineering. This is going to make sure that we never have any issues with this little shaft. So that's going to go right in there. Now, unfortunately, something I did notice, which isn't so good, is that here on the oil pump surface, there are some scoring marks there. So it looks like this pump has had some metal through it at one point. I don't know if this engine was ever rebuilt. From some of the surface marks in here, it kind of looks like somebody's been in here before, but I'm going to reassemble this with our replacement oil pressure relief valve system and the upgraded strengthened oil pump drive. Lastly, we can go together with the oil pressure relief valve. The last thing to do here is add 8 quarts of oil. This thing takes a ton of oil. So we're gonna start pouring that in here. We still have a bunch of work to do on this car. We gotta upgrade the cooling system. But next I wanna take care of a little project on the interior, because the interior of this car has one major flaw, which is that it does not have a cup holder. I was on a road trip recently, and for those 1,000 miles, I had to cram my drink in some random crevice of the car. So we're gonna add a cup holder with a sick new tool that I just added to the garage. This is my Bamboo Lab X1 Carbon, and I'm gonna use it to attempt to make the perfect cup holder for my 996. The first version of my cup holder that I made, I downloaded off of Thingiverse, which is a website where you can download other people's 3D printed files. This cup holder goes in place of the stock ashtray in the center console of the 996, which is convenient because mine is broken anyway, but this design left a lot to be desired as far as actually holding a cup in place. The drink flies around, the walls are too thin, and there's no actual base for the drink to rest on. At this point, I decided to take some measurements and design my own version of the cup holder in some free 3D modeling software. Until this day, I had never opened a CAD program, but within a few hours, I drew up my own version of the cup holder, and this design improved on a lot of the shortcomings. It had a much stronger base and now a solid floor for the cup to sit on, but it still felt a little flimsy, so I designed a third version that was made to the exact measurements of the cup from my favorite local coffee shop. This one felt incredibly strong, and I even made little plugs to cover the holes for the screws. Once I installed it in the car, the fitment of this one was perfect. It fit very securely, it doesn't get in the way of the shifter, and it's made to fit my exact coffee cup. Although I might make another revision of this in the future, this one is super practical, and I love the fact that it was made right here in my garage. The X1 Carbon has been a game changer for me because it takes 3D printing, which was previously like a niche tinkering hobby, and it brings it to a level of refinement and user experience that allows me to start making perfect prints from the moment I took this thing out of the box. It's incredibly quick and so versatile with their wide range of filaments, like this glow-in-the-dark PLA that I use to make custom-sized hangers for my welding station. I also use this to make a welding torch holder out of PETG, which is incredibly tough and versatile. If you own a 996, you're probably familiar with these seemingly endless pieces of foam that come out of your air vents. I took apart the HVAC system in my car and printed some custom-sized plugs to replace the foam in the blend doors. They fit perfectly, sealed the blend doors up, replaced the foam, and since you have to cut the original HVAC system to remove this, I also printed a custom replacement cap for reassembling this. Now the AC in my car is colder and the heat is hotter. I'm super happy with these different projects, and a massive thank you to Bamboo Labs for sponsoring this video. I'm ready to give the Porsche a little test fire here to see if this thing blows up now that I've opened up the oil pump. But first we need to prime the oil pump. We need to pull fuse C2 and C4, and that should make the car crank but not start. That's a 30 amp and fuse 4 is a 25. Let's hope that when we start this thing, that oil pressure light goes out. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. That's a success. Now we need to give it a nice drive cycle, probably up to Angela's crest, and hopefully by the time the oil is nice and hot, we still have a bar of oil pressure at idle as opposed to half a bar, which is what I had before. Before we take this thing up to the crest to see if that all is fixed, I do want to do some new brake rotors on this thing and full aluminum radiators from CSF. I think they'll help with cooling in performance driving situations. If you watched the first couple videos on this car, you might know that I was dealing with overheating issues when I first picked this thing up. And since then, we've done a ton to resolve them. A new thermostat, water pump, means that this car now no longer overheats, and it's been running at very steady temperatures. But I still wanted to upgrade the radiators for peace of mind, for reliability, and for performance, just knowing that from the factory, these cars are just undercooled. It's one of the most discussed topics online when it comes to the 996 other than the IMS bearing, and these full aluminum radiators that I got from FCP Euro are going to add reliability, peace of mind, and they're going to upgrade the performance of the cooling system. The driver's side radiator is out of the car. As you saw, it looks old, it's crusty, it's got plastic end tanks, and honestly, these cooling systems, even from the factory in perfect working order, which is what this was at currently, they're just known to be a little undercooled. I also got brand new radiator fans. You guys might remember in the very first episode of this Porsche 996, I put in these Amazon resistors for $5, and they worked great, but if I'm replacing the full radiators, I'm gonna do the radiator fans as well. These also came from FCP Euro, just like everything else on this car. And this is a whole new radiator fan along with resistor and connector. At this point, I think we can get to work swapping over some of the old brackets and things onto the new radiator, and then we'll put the new fan on there as well. The radiators are fully on the car, everything is buttoned up. I just got to put the front bumper back on, and while I'm here and I have the wheels off, I'm going to take this time to replace the brake rotors because this thing has brand new brake pads. I didn't change them, but the brake rotors are in bad condition and they were not changed along with the brake pads. You can see there's a ton of thickness on that pad right there, but the rotors have a really warped kind of finish. They have a bunch of grooves in them, a pretty strong lip right here, so these need to be replaced. I was about to reinstall this plastic shield, which sits right here at the front of the car. But then I realized I'm missing half the fasteners that twist in here and hold this cover in place. So I think I'm gonna measure these up and try to replicate them. These are the OEM trim clips. They're extremely tiny. It took me like 20 minutes because I'm not that good with CAD yet, but I replicated the clip in the software here. I think I even improved this design a little bit. I made the groove a little deeper and a little narrower for a screwdriver to fit better. So Porsche, if you need some help designing clips, hit me up. I'm gonna make a total of 4 in the Bamboo Studio, and something that's pretty cool is that it actually tells you how much these cost, and the total cost is 13 cents, so definitely a lot cheaper than I'm sure these would be at the dealer. I'm gonna hit print, and in a couple minutes here we'll have some new OEM Porsche clips. This is not necessary, I'm just having fun at this point. Here goes my test clip. There we go. Look at that. I'm trying to pull up on this. That isn't going anywhere. Last one. Perfect. Look at that. 4 brand new clips made right here. I know it's not a huge deal and those clips aren't that important, but the fact that it was made here is so sick, and the fact that I drew that up in CAD myself is just too much fun. Anyway, I'm gonna keep putting this thing back together, and then we're gonna drive it, see if my oil pressure is good, and see if my coolant temps stay lower in Angeles Crest. And I wanna give you a proper clip of this GT3 muffler because I think it's even better than the last video, and I think this has to be one of the best sounding exhaust setups on a 996. If everything goes well on this drive, we should have eliminated every major potential failure point on this engine. It doesn't have any bore scoring because the oil filter that I cut open today was super clean. The IMS bearing was done by the previous owner, and now we've upgraded the cooling system with full aluminum radiators, and the oil pump drive has been upgraded with a hardened piece from LN Engineering. That being said, these issues usually don't start to present themselves until about 15 to 30 minutes of spirited driving. So that's what we're gonna do now. Wow. What a sound, man, what a sound. This has very quickly become one of my favorite cars to drive. The sound, the feeling of the chassis, the engagement of the shifter, the steering is lovely. Oh man, it's so good. After a spirited drive, that's where the coolant temps are at. That is beyond acceptable for driving up a mountain for half an hour. And that's where the oil pressure is at. We're back at just below 1 bar, which is the factory spec. Now that the car is all sorted and I know that I can feel confident driving it far, driving it in the crest, it's time for some more modifications. It's time to customize this thing even more.